What's up, everybody? Bootsy Greenwood here, and I am coming at you with another video on the Reality Transurfing book. My favorite, great book. I love it so much that I read it a lot over the course of the past several years, and I recently created a summary taking all the most important concepts that I really think, matter, and really just kind of drilled that down into here is what reality transurfing is. Instead of 1,000 pages, how about 111, right? And I strongly recommend reading the actual book. But if you're interested in just getting an idea of the concepts, you can go ahead and put them into action. I strongly recommend the summary. It's a great way to support me and my work that I am putting out here on YouTube. I also have a podcast. I've also got, on my Patreon page, I've got a Path to Purpose course. If you're looking to try to find your purpose, you can get that on there. I've got some comedy on there. And on my website, I've got a ton of freebie stuff. Go ahead and get that stuff. Take it. It's there for your taking. I appreciate you. Thanks for your attention, your energy, and your support. If you enjoy the videos, please like, subscribe, send me a comment, hop in the Telegram group, Facebook group, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I think the promo is over. But you got to sell yourself, right? You got to. You can't take something if you don't actually take it. Now, I've learned that lesson. Now, I've asked you all out there, what is it that I could explain to you in these videos? What would you like to know? And one of my good friends, Daryl Becker, he said, what's a good 3-step process to begin transurfing? And I think that's an excellent question, right? Like, I appreciate that. Any questions that you guys have, send them over to me. It helps me to make a video and make this idea a lot more clear. So, 3 steps in transurfing. The thing about transurfing is this, okay? From a practical view, it takes a while to get through the theory. Okay, there's a lot of theory that the author talks about. He's talking about our awareness. He's talking about infinity. He's talking about experiments in the physical world and how those all play out. And so he goes through all of this stuff to really set up the techniques that are later in the book. The techniques are really starting around, I'd say, chapter 10, 11, 12. We get into energy and frailing and these types of things in coordination with the world. But I'm going to try and see if I can't make this make a little bit of sense. And I'm going to go ahead and start with 3 of the concepts that you need to know in order to put the techniques into place for you, Daryl, and anybody else who might find this helpful. First and foremost, the author talks about infinity, the alternatives space, the fact that infinity is real, okay? And this has plagued my mind for a long time. If any of you know me for a long time, I used to make music, and I made this song one time called the Fractal Song. It's a box inside of a box inside of a box, and so on. And so this whole idea has been kind of a riddle to me for literally as long as I've lived, because we know in a mathematical sense, infinity is real. So if infinity is real, that means that your goal and you in it already exists somewhere out there. In the dream space, in the mental space, in the metaphysical space, the alternatives space, whatever you would like to call it. Infinity, 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 anything, everything, it's already there already. So you don't have to conjure it up, you don't have to create it. You just have to, as the author says, choose. You have to choose that possibility in the infinite alternative space. Okay, that's the first concept. Second concept is pendulums. Pendulums are energetic informational structures. Any physical thing has an energetic equivalent to it. And particularly, boy, do groups have these. Now, if you join anything, a sports club, a political party, a union, PTA, doesn't matter, it has an energy that's created by the members of the group. And that energy, it may even be written down. Here are the rules of the group, and you have to abide by these rules. Otherwise, you're being a bad member. The rule of the pendulum, do as I do, okay? And these pendulums are also, they're macro and they're also micro. They're small. These are ways that we get irritated in our world. We might get pulled off course because we see something that we think is distasteful to us. Something happens in our reality and we're like, I didn't want that to happen. We're on the path to our goal and something kind of knocks us off course. That's a pendulum. And when we express dissatisfaction toward that circumstance, it knocks us out off of balance and it takes us to a different life path, let's say. It taints our view of the world, okay? It taints our slide, as we're about to learn and find out. The third is gratitude, understanding that even in those moments, whenever something bad happens or it's seemingly unfortunate, we should learn to celebrate every single circumstance and opportunity in our lives. Transurfing is poop, it's piloting, obstacle, opportunity, pivot, okay? We always want to see the good in everything as much as we possibly can. The bluebird of happiness, she comes and she lands in your hand when you have it open. If you chase her, she's gone, but when you appreciate her, she comes and she lands right there. There can be a cascading wave of fortune if we learn to be grateful in our attitude. Even when something crazy happens, it seems like it's off course, the universe is still able to write us toward its goal, okay, or toward our goal, which is its goal when we decide, when we choose, when we use our intention, which we'll get to. Okay, so those are the first kind of like teed up concepts that we need to understand. Now let's get into some of the techniques, okay? Slides. Slides are your view of the world. It's how you see the world. And these slides, it's basically how you perceive yourself and how you perceive reality. You see yourself in a certain way, you see reality will be reflected in that way. The first video in this series, I talked about the reticular activation system. That is the part of our brain that shows us what to pay attention to. So in our slides, we're always looking for confirmation bias. And it's ultimately a feedback loop in how we view the world and how it presents itself to us. Okay, so if we learn to see the world in a beautiful way, we start to give gratitude toward it. We don't get knocked off course by these pendulums, by these freak happenings, by these things that happen randomly to us. And we stay grateful and in the pocket. Well, then all of a sudden, circumstances start working out more toward our advantage. And we can even choose that. We can even use that as a mantra and say, advantage, right? Everything is unfolding exactly how it should. Even though this thing happened, it's leading me to my goal. It is ultimately an advantage. Because our mind, which we'll get into, our mind always wants to suss this stuff out and figure out what was good, what was bad, what it didn't like, what it did like. You know, this is not taking us toward there because by a linear progression, this doesn't make sense. And so the mind really often gets in the way, and the mind is the problem when it comes to the pendulums. And when we start to see a circumstance, our mind will tell us a story about it. Now let's talk about the heart. The heart is pure and it is unique, and it's connected to infinity. The mind is connected to this physical world. The heart is connected to infinity. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to bring these two things into alignment. When these two things agree, magic happens, okay? It causes a force called intention to be born when these two things agree. And this is why we always get what we don't want, because it's very easy for our heart and mind to agree on what we don't want. And when we agree on those things internally, it really starts to pull those things toward us in the physical world. So we want to appreciate our heart. We want to love our heart with our mind and ask our heart what it wants. Because the mind is kind of a blank slate when it comes into the world, but the heart, on the other hand, the heart is a completely unique piece of the all, of the infinite, right? The metaphor is, Rumi says, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. So this expression that we are, that ultimately goes back to the ocean, you know, once this whole life goes over, well, we want to embrace that expression. We want to give the heart what it wants. It's toy, right? It's like a little girl in a toy store, and the mind is like the parent, the father, who's like, well, we can't afford that. That's not for us. Blah, 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 blah. You know, often it can be like that. The mind can also be a great ally. I'm not trying to poo-poo on the mind, okay? But when these two things are in agreement, we create intention. And intention is what magic power is. It's the magic power. It's very hard to define. The author says that it is the determination to have and act in accordance with your will. Now the heart, it wants what it wants, but the mind has will, right? It has willpower. So between these two things, when they agree, we're born intention. We create intention. This is everything creative that's ever been made manifest is a result of the heart and mind. The masculine mind, the feminine heart, okay? Anything great that's ever been created has come as a result of the union of these two things. And that is the ultimate aim and the ultimate goal of reality transurfing, is to align our heart and our mind together and create intention. Intention is what gets us from A to B. It's how we fulfill our goal. And the way that we fulfill our goal is really not even fulfilling it, but finding it. As soon as we find our goal by listening to our heart, what is called the rustle of the morning stars, okay? The rustle of the morning stars, it's beautifully put. The rustle of the morning stars means that quiet inner voice, right? The rustle of the morning stars is that faint whisper of the soul. It's clear as a star, but it's quiet as a rustle, okay? So when we learn to use our mind to listen to our heart and ask it what it wants, then all of a sudden we agree on that, causing intention, creating intention to put us on the path to our goal. And once we are on the path to our goal, our life becomes a celebration. That's it. It doesn't even matter whether we attain the goal or not, because it's like, this is awesome. I love my life. It's great. This is amazing. I love what I do. And that is really what transurfing is all about. It's about finding your ultimate goal and allowing yourself to be exactly as you are and allowing everyone else to be exactly as they are. That's the main rule of transurfing. Allowing yourself to be exactly as you are, allowing everyone else to be exactly as they are. If you can put these principles into action, you can accept yourself and give up the fight with the world, which is what we've been trained to go into, like a battle, like, I gotta find my place, I gotta get my $12, you know. And it's like, dude, chill, relax, let go a little bit, see from a distance, see more objective perspective. The metaphor that Vadim uses is, think of a fly that's up against a window, but the next window is open, and it's buzzing to try to get out that window, and it's clinging tight. Well, if it would just fly back and notice there's another window and it's open, it could fly right out of that window. So that, I hope, is a decent synopsis in a nutshell. Again, I highly recommend going and checking out the book. Go get it. It's a great book. Read the whole thing. It's amazing. Read it dozens of times. Or if you would prefer to skip that step and you want a synopsis that's very easy to understand and clear and skips kind of a lot of the nuanced stuff, then go check out my summary. I've got a bunch of other free stuff on my website. Please check that stuff out. Support me any way you can. Share this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your enemies. I don't care. Send them all. I really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for watching this video. And find us in the Facebook group. Find us in the Telegram chat. We're connecting. We're talking about a lot of these ideas. And it's a lot of fun. So I would love to invite you to come and hang out with us and just kick it. Talk about some of these concepts and ideas. Very, very many of my friends have gotten as much or maybe even more out of this book as I have. So I want to say thanks again. We'll see you on the next video. Peace, everybody.